Hard sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Hard sports all plays.
It is Sunday. And there we go. Hello, everyone. Little technical difficulties to start off the day, but hey, that is what happens sometimes when you're live streaming. But welcome to the show, the weekly wrap up. Shane will be on the way in just a few minutes. But while we get started and wait for Shane to arrive, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the share button wherever you're watching today. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, All Sports, All Plays. And don't forget to go and follow, because we have a lot of great shows on the network here. All Sports, All Plays on Facebook, at ASAP Network 1 on Twitter. And you can find us on YouTube. Just search All Sports, All Plays. And then you can find the rest on Twitch is at ASAP Network. But Shane, I know you're out and about this weekend. How are you doing? And he's gone. This is fantastic. I love y'all. This is great. Welcome. Hopefully my volume is working pretty well. But we got a few things we're going to kickstart today. Shane, welcome back. I know you're out and about this weekend. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I am just trying to get connected to this Wi-Fi because there is so much going on in sports right now. But the closer you get to a lake, the tougher it is to get onto one of these things. So it looks like we've kind of fought our way through this thing, and we're on here now. So NFL preseason's here. Yesterday was the first official like the last Saturday without college football until into the Januaries. So look, we're in a good spot right now. So I'm excited for this.
Absolutely. I know you're out by Lake Erie right now in Ontario.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Awesome.
The boys are out here. There's a cornhole tournament happening right now. There's a bunch of dudes out there hitting little fucking wiffle balls, thinking that they're dude perfect. It's a wild scene on the outside of this thing, but in here, we're all business and we're ready for a little bit of sports.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive right into it. You already hit it on the head. NFL preseason. We're only 3 weeks this year. We're heading into the last week of preseason before the regular season gets started. And a lot of the big news over the last week was surrounding Deshaun Watson again. Surprise, surprise. Well, if you remember, the NFL, they had a third-party representative to try to make a claim in this case and make a verdict in this case. Of course, he had all those sexual assault and accusations against him with those massage parlors that he loved to frequent oh so much. But they came out with just a few games. There's a lot of uproar. NFL said, no, we're going to step in. And Watson ends up settling for 11 games with the NFL. What was your first reaction when you heard that news come out?
So the immediate reaction was, okay, so who is that 12th game against? And you go and look at it and you see the 12th game, or, that spot where it comes up in the suspension, who you playing, and they're playing the Houston Texans. So you think, okay, yes, the NFL settled because 11 is obviously more than 6. 11 is less than the full season. But when you really break this thing down, like this seems like a cash grab, right? Like this is how can we get somebody to watch a Houston Texans game? And it's, well, we find a way to make the suspension line up exactly with what we're doing here.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
Yeah, like this felt like it was going to turn into a year, right? Like there was almost, it was almost, who cares about the $5 million? And like if you look at the way that the whole contract was structured, he's making like 650 this year, and then like 47 next year. So you think, okay, he gets suspended for the year, he loses his pay. Yeah, you're gonna lose your 670,000, but next year you're gonna make 43 million. So you're fine. You know what I mean? Like as a quarterback, as a player, as a businessman, you're fine. The NFLPA seems like they stepped in here. They got a little bit of work done, and if you look at this from 10,000 feet in the air, the NFL looks fucking stupid. Like really, like they have absolutely nothing to do with this. And I'm surprised that the court of public opinion has not dictated this thing.
Yeah, it's been a little surprising because of the fact that the NFL went out and did this. They come back and said, you know what, we're going to stand in and we're going to make this right. And then, they definitely want more than a year. But Deshaun Watson settled with 11 and then also a $5 million fine to show for it. But the suspension doesn't take place. It doesn't go into effect until August 30th when NFL teams have to cut down to 53 men. But you have to believe that the NFL, we're trying to figure out like, okay, what's going to help us? And you already said it's kind of like a money grab because his first game back, you already mentioned it, is against the Houston Texans. You couldn't write a better script than that. And you have to believe that the NFL kept that in the back of their mind when they knew they weren't going to get a year for Deshaun Watson. So let's try to settle somewhere where we can try to get the most money out of this as possible.
Right. Because you know what? The automatic settlement, and like you saw it from a lot of different analysts, was if anything happens, this is going to be a 12 game, but because of the way that the schedule broke down, 11 games made more sense financially. And the more eyes that go to the Browns and any eyes that go to the Texans in general, that's more eyes than were going that way before. And if you're looking at Jacoby Brissett versus Davis Mills, I don't think anybody's locking into that. But if you're looking at Deshaun Watson versus anybody else, like it doesn't matter. They could be running their punter out there to just kick the ball away, and this already becomes must-see TV.
And then no one really wants to watch, like you said, those backup quarterbacks, going in week 11, week 12. No one wants to see that. But of course, people do want to see some of the best players on the field. One of the weirdest things to me surround this whole scenario was after the fact that this came down and Deshaun Watson did a press conference immediately when this came down. He's like, I'm standing on my innocence. And then another press conference, I think it was the next day or even later that afternoon, where you had the owners there of the Browns basically saying that, well, he's a young 26-year-old quarterback. I don't remember the exact quote, but he's like, he's young. This was a dumb idea. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. That's still wrong. Like what he did was still wrong. And you had so many people coming out and stepping forward about the actions that he was taking. And to me, it also seems like the NFL just money over everything. That's kind of the route that they've taken with a lot of previous cases. And they're not going to take a hard stance on these allegations of domestic violence and sexual assault and any of those others that they should take a harder stance on. They're not going to, because the money is what talks at the end of the day.
Right. And really when it comes down to it, like the quote that you want to think of is Billy Madison, and that's assault, brother. But look, this is the NFL. The NFL has decided to do what they need to do. If this was on video, if you look at Ray Rice, if this is on video, he never plays again in the NFL. this thing's not on video, and maybe that's better for us that we don't have to see whatever shenanigans were happening. But look, the court of public opinion doesn't seem to be coming down too hard in the NFL on this. There's no video evidence, so the regular NFL fan probably hasn't even given a shit about what's happening in the NFL yet. But, like the NFL, like the true fan, like myself, yourself, the guys that we know, we look at this thinking, how was Ezekiel Elliott 6 games? How was Ben Roethlisberger 6 games? This one started at 6. This one got pled up to 11. But does 11 really, like, at this point, would you rather just not see him play week 1? Like, who, you know what I mean? Like, they've already fabricated the suspension. They've already figured out how to make people feel good about whatever's happening. The guy's getting $230 million guaranteed. Does the suspension make you feel better? It doesn't, right? Right. For me, it doesn't. Why do I feel better because of the suspension?
Right. And, we'll just kind of continue to see how this all plays out. And definitely you got to wonder for future situations similar to this, how is the NFL going to continue to approach it? So we'll have to kind of pay attention to that. But one of the other headlines that came out over the last week or so, Zach Wilson in his preseason game against the Philadelphia Eagles went down with a non-contact injury in the first quarter last week. So just over a week ago. And it came out that he was out for 2 to 4 weeks. There was thoughts that he might have torn an ACL. He may have torn some ligaments in his leg, in his knee, but it came out that he's just going to undergo some minor surgery on his right knee, and they have not ruled him out for the opener September 11th against the Baltimore Ravens. So I guess if you're the New York Jets, your backup quarterback is 37-year-old Joe Flacco. How much of a relief do you think it is for the Jets fans to hear this news that he's not going to be out for more than 2 to 4 weeks?
Well, I'm going to pivot from what you said and just say ditto, because who did you say that the Jets are leading off their season against week 1?
The Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, so who do you think that Roger Goodell cares about playing quarterback in week 1 for the Jets? Do you think that he would like Joe Flacco to play against the Ravens, or Zach Wilson, who just got knee surgery? And I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm not saying that this was all drawn out. This one seems to lead in the direction of where we're going. But if any New York Jets fan feels like Zach Wilson's playing week 1, you might want to check the meds and make sure and just get yourself regulated there, because there's a 0% chance that Zach Wilson's the week 1 starter. This is Joe Flacco. And you know what? Like, the NFL will do anything that they can to get Lamar Jackson into the playoffs, and an extra win against the fucking Jets is probably going to do that trick, right? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, look, I'm a Steelers guy. I'm a Steelers guy. The NFC or the AFC North, that is my bread and butter. Like, that's where I like to hang out. I personally do not believe that the Ravens are an 11-win team, but because of this and because of week 1 against Joe Flacco, that might win them to the division right there. Because I'm not sure that the Bengals, coming off of the way that they're doing it, I don't think it's what it is. And I told you, as a Steelers fan, I think 9-7 with a playoff wild card makes sense. So this 1 week against the Jets with Joe Flacco could mean the Ravens winning the division.
It very well could. And if you're a Jets fan, I'm sure a lot of them are paying very close attention to Zach Wilson's recovery, because he's already had 2 injuries to his right knee in the last 10 months.
Yeah.
Week 7 last year, he sprained his PCL, and that cost him 4 games. So you're already looking at that right knee and wondering, is it just what it was reported, which was a bone bruise and a minor meniscus tear? Which, having done that myself, you can tear it pretty easily again once it's been torn. So, but what I really look at with that is if you are the Jets front office and you see that he's going to be out for 2 to 4 weeks, extend to that 4 weeks, because the Jets, while they do want to try to go step in the right direction, there's no need to rush him out for week 1 against the Ravens when you're in a position where you're still trying to climb out of the cellar of the AFC. So don't rush him. I mean, he kind of struggled last year, but this whole offense for the Jets last year struggled. Just to throw some stats out there for you, for the stat people, the Jets offense last year ranked 20th in passing yards, 25th in passing touchdowns. They were 7th worst in offensive yards. They were 5th worst in turnovers, 5th worst in points per game, and they had tied for the second most interceptions thrown. So if you're wondering, like, is Zach Wilson and company, is he going to be the guy for the Jets moving forward? You got to try to protect him, protect his health. Because if you don't, you're going to be right back at square one, trying to draft another quarterback in the future.
And right now, just like it's a copycat league, right? So everybody wants to do what the next group is doing. So what you're probably looking at is Zach Wilson becoming Josh Allen. And right now, if you're looking at Zach Wilson becoming Josh Allen, I mean, sorry, I mean, I can look at a hot dog, but it never becomes a steak. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, it doesn't mean that Zach Wilson's bad. It just means that you're not what Josh Allen is. And if you're not at a point where your quarterback can run your team, you would rather him sit on your IR and see what you got out there, because they do have some talent, and the Breece Hall is going to be a big deal for them. You know what? They've had some receivers coming in and out of there. Zach Wilson, I don't think that he's a terrible quarterback, but that the problem is it's a copycat league, and even right now, he is the third or fourth worst quarterback in that division, and they're all young.
Right. And that kind of, when you look at how that team is, and that kind of, I kind of want to transition. You already mentioned Breece Hall, and
I don't know if Craig
they're
can hear me
drafting
still, but
him. What's that? Oh, I think we lost Shane for a second. There he is.
Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say I didn't know if you if you could hear me or not. But yeah, like, basically when it comes down to it, like I said, was you're the fourth best quarterback in your division. It's all young quarterbacks, and you're not rushing a guy like that back.
Absolutely not. You're not going to rush him back, especially when you're, like I said, trying to dig out of that AFC cellar. But you did mention somebody that I wanted to kind of transition into our last part of the NFL segment here. You had already mentioned Breece Hall, the running back that was drafted by the New York Jets this year. And I was looking up, it just gave me an idea to look up the NFL brought out, this was kind of the end of last month there, where NFL brought together the top 5 or the top 10 offensive rookie of the year candidates and defensive rookie of the year candidates for 2022. And I wanted to throw a couple names out there at you. I know you have your own pick, Shane, of who you want to be the offensive rookie of the year. But you mentioned that Breece Hall, and he's one of those, he's in one of the top consideration for offensive rookie of the year by NFL.com, drafted in the second round this past year. So I'm going to give you the top 5, and then let me know kind of what your thoughts are on that. So starting at number 5, Sky Moore, second round draft pick from Western Michigan on the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 4 was Garrett Wilson, a wide receiver out of Ohio State, drafted by the New York Jets, number 10 overall. Okay. Number 3 is your boy, Kenny Pickett, quarterback out of Pittsburgh, drafted by the Steelers in the first round. Number 2 is Treylon Burks, a wide receiver out of Arkansas, drafted to the Titans at number 18 in the first round. And then the aforementioned Breece Hall, running back, drafted in the second round by the New York Jets. Out of those 5 guys, who do you think has the best chance of getting Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Well, I think I kind of lost you for a second there, but I mean, when you look at Rookie of the Year candidates, you're going to look at who's offense, who has the best output, like where you might be at. Like, if you look at a guy like Breece Hall, it's tough to call him a Rookie of the Year candidate. Zach Wilson. It's more likely than not that Breece Hall is going to have 3 quarterbacks put the ball in his belly than 2. So I'm gonna have a problem with picking him in that position. George Pickens to me makes a lot of sense, but a guy that makes a lot of sense, and I'll be honest, like our feed is cutting out a little bit, so I didn't follow the 5 guys that you put in, but a guy like Drake London could be a guy that you go ahead and follow down the line, and he might be the guy that is the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Drake London, drafted 8th overall for the Atlanta Falcons. He's got Marcus Mariota and other.
He's a little bit banged up, but to me, George Pickens is probably gonna.
All right, so I think we're having some issues here with the feed here for Shane, but
have the type of year that Justin Jefferson had, not the.
We're just gonna do that real quick. Just gonna remove him out real quick, and hopefully we can get that taken care of again. But of those top 5 guys, somebody that I look at a lot, and I'm gonna do a little shameless plug here for my alma mater, but Sky Moore, who's ranked 5th on that list from Western Michigan, second round pick to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a guy that, having watched him throughout in college, he's very underrated coming out of the draft. He had 4.4 speed. He had great route running ability, not only in Kalamazoo, but also in his workouts. And that's something that the Kansas City Chiefs, looking at, they need a replacement for Tyreek Hill. They need a replacement for him. And that's somebody in Sky Moore that I really think can fit that mold. He's definitely going to be a little bit more of a slot receiver because the Chiefs went out and got Juju Smith-Schuster. They got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but Sky Moore, I think, is kind of like that outside chance. If he can get the ball, not only on like return game, or just Pat Mahomes is going to be able to get him the football. It just depends. Is he going to be able to have enough separation or break the top off a defense to be that big play threat? So I think he's kind of an outside chance for the Rookie of the Year on the offensive side of the ball.
Let me tell you a little bit about Sky Moore. And like, this isn't insider information. It's just the information that nobody is paying attention to with him. Is he a bad receiver? Absolutely not. Did he play against decent competition through his career? The first 3 games, those guys are going to play like the Michigan States, the Michigan, like Western Michigan's going to play a couple teams, but Mike Tomlin's son is Sky Moore's best friend. Like best friends. They went to high school together. It is what it. Mike Tomlin passed on Sky Moore for George Pickens. Is that an indictment of Sky Moore? No, but it will tell you where his skill level is, because I think that even if we removed our homer glasses from being Steelers fans or, AFC fans, whatever it takes, there isn't many people out there would say Mike Tomlin hasn't picked winning receivers. Right? I understand the draft process comes down to the GM, but for the head coach to not stand on the table banging on it for this kid probably leads you to believe of where his skill level might be. In the Kansas City offense, can this guy be the Tyreek Hill? Probably. But can he be the offensive player of the year as a rookie? That's where I get a little. I mean, I bet you're going to get some great odds, and if you can, I mean, I'm never a guy to tell you not to bet on great odds, but look, I think that we want to bet with our heads and our hearts here, and he might not be the guy.
Yeah, and that's another that's another thing to think about. We'll kind of switch over to the defensive side of the ball here a little bit, but there's plenty of great candidates in the offense, and a guy that we didn't even touch on is Kenneth Walker III, out of your Michigan State Spartans. Him going to Seattle, if that running game, if Rashad Penny is not healthy again this year, Kenneth Walker III is going to get a lot of touches, and he's an outside chance of somebody. If they can figure out the QB situation, he might be a good outside shot at offensive rookie of the year as well.
Well, I agree, especially if a team gets up 16-3, it's going to be really, really difficult to keep that guy out of the end zone, because we both know, Craig, that when he's down a few points, that guy finds the end zone really quickly, especially when a team has a significant lead. So, Michigan took a significant lead against Michigan State, and Kenneth Walker took over the game. And that happened a few different times.
Yeah, he has that ability to take over the game, especially the big thing for him is going to be catching out of the backfield. He can do that. Yeah. It can really add a whole nother layer of dynamicism to his game.
I agree. And Seattle has so many different things to figure out. I mean, they got DK there, and whether it's Penny or Walker taking the ball, it's more about, will Drew Lock be the one handing it off, or is Geno Smith going to get a shot here? And right now, it seems like Geno Smith is probably the guy. But, who really knows? I think one thing for certain is the Seattle offense is going to be fucking abysmal. Like bad. They're going to be really, like, historically bad.
Yeah, it's going to be really bad for sure. But let's kind of round out this NFL segment, and we'll talk a little bit about defensive rookie of the year candidates in the NFL.com top 10. There's a couple of Jets, a couple of Jaguars, and then you already mentioned the Baltimore Ravens. Kyle Hamilton's on this list at 5. Trayvon Walker, the number 1 overall pick, is at 9 on this list. Nakobe Dean is 8. Sauce Gardner's at 7. And then Kayvon Thibodeau was the 5th pick overall out of Oregon, drafted to the Giants, was at number 3. Number 2 is Devin Lloyd out of Utah. And number 1, Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan to the Lions. My question to you is, the Jaguars have 2 guys on this list, and the number 2, Devin Lloyd, is higher than Trayvon Walker. Do you think that's something to kind of look into here with the Jaguars? Like, or is that just because the Jaguars drafted Trayvon Walker out on his measurables, as they called it, his potential?
So yeah, and when that comes down, like maybe the GM of the Jags will feel good about that pick 2 years down the road, but at this point, and you know what, as a Michigan fan, you're probably going to like this little tidbit. There isn't a GM in the league that looked at Hard Knocks and saw Buddy singing Michael Jackson and didn't think, wow, that was a mistake. That, look, this guy is a football phenom. There is no doubt about it. But just knowing that you could have been the first overall pick and you're just one of the guys, look, that has to speak to something. And the Lions taking that fair catch and just like running away with it, they should be thrilled. You have a Lion shirt on. I know you're a Michigan guy. You should be so thrilled that this guy is going to be on your team for the next 7 to 15 years, depending on how this thing works out. And I'm not saying that he's going to be like a Michael Strahan, go get 22 sacks a game. But if you watch the preseason games, and I know that you have, the preseason games have shown that this guy can play. He can get around the guys. He can get a little bit smaller, even though he's a big dude, and he can disrupt stuff in the backfield. I know that the flashy stats are what's going to draw you to being the defensive player of the year, but I'll tell you, 8 sacks with this guy disrupting a little bit of play in the backfield, I think that gets it done for him.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed big time, not only watching Hard Knocks, but watching some of the preseason snaps that he's taken, he's got the ability to use his hands and get around the edge and fit and get off blocks very well already. One of his first plays against the Falcons, he had that tackle for loss. If you watch the Hard Knocks episodes,
I got a question for you about the Hard Knocks episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you're watching it, and he's singing, and he gets onto that note. Were you one of the guys in the front row? Were you singing with him, or where were you at? Because I look at, you know what, you and I have never met in person. Full disclosure, that is what it is. But you look like the guy. You fucking jumped out of the chair, and you were moving along with it.
I was really hoping he would bust out the moonwalk. I was really hoping he would try that. But no, I actually was. I got my fiance to watch it with me, and poor choice for her, because I'm awful when I'm watching these things. I'm like fully dialed in.
Yeah.
I was dancing along with Rodrigo when he was doing his moves, and she looks at me. She's like, "Are you dancing right now?" I was like, "Yeah. How can you not like it? How can you not get along with that?" But. That was, I was definitely singing along when he started singing Billie Jean. Yep, I was definitely singing along.
Look, I would be more concerned about you if you didn't. and that's why I was hoping you were going that way. So, like you're watching Hard Knocks, you're watching this and go, man, I got another buddy that's a Lions fan. I asked him what a successful Lions season looks like this year. And I will tell you what he said after you tell me what you think a successful Lions season is this year.
This was something on our previous episode, kind of dove into a little bit. I think a successful season for the Lions is doubling up their win total from last year. They had 3. If they get anywhere between 6 to 8 wins, I think it's very successful. Their floor is still probably about 4 to 5 wins, but their ceiling, looking at that schedule, they have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL before, to start the season. And I think their ceiling can be double-digit wins. I don't think they'll get there, but I think their ceiling's about like 8 to 9 wins, but they'll probably hit around 6 to 7. And I think that's successful.
Yeah, you know what? 6 to 7 wins makes sense, and that's what I said to the guy too. And look, like Buddy told me that getting to the playoffs would be a successful season. As I said, dude, how long have you been a Lions fan for? Like that's not the starting point. You know what I mean? Like this isn't. You don't just decide to be a Lions fan and think that they're making the playoffs. 6 to 7 wins makes a lot of sense. 6 to 7 wins gets them out of that shitty basement that they've been a part of. I think, 8 wins as a ceiling and 4 wins as a bottom. I think that no matter what, even their worst case scenario, they win more games this year than the last.
Absolutely, they're in a much better spot. They have one of the better offensive lines in the league. You're hoping that Jared Goff can take a step forward big time with a lot of the adjustments that they've made in the offseason. DeAndre Swift, hopefully he's healthy. He's trying to shoot for, he said it himself, he's looking for 1,000 rushing and 1,000 receiving this year. If you can get over 2,000 all scrimmage yards, You're probably going to be one of the best running backs in the NFC at that point. You got a few guys going on contract years. You got more weapons that you've brought in for receivers, and that defense hopefully can just take a step up. And I think that's a recipe for some success. If you go on his comment, if the Lions make the playoffs, we're gonna throw a parade just for that, just for the playoffs.
Yeah. So yeah, it's more likely to me that the Lions hang a Super Bowl banner for Matt Stafford than they actually make the playoffs this year.
Well, depending on what memes you look for in around social media, that actually has been a meme made where they hung a banner that our last quarterback won a Super Bowl. Like, I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Stafford did what he did for so many years here, and then was able to actually go to a competent franchise and win a Super Bowl in his first year. I mean, that's something that all Lions fans have wanted for him ever since he led the Lions in his rookie year on that game-winning drive against the Browns when he separated his shoulder. You just had to feel for him, and that was something that the Lions fans have wanted for a long time.
Yeah, Lions fans deserve better, but they're not going to get it.
It's in the right direction, but yes, they definitely deserve better, but they're in the right direction. But all right, so I know something that you and I have been kind of talking about over the last couple of shows here, wanting to kind of get around to the NFL to kind of give a little bit of a preview of each of the divisions. And we're going to kind of combine two of them this week, and we're going to try to do as many as we can for the next week leading up to the NFL season. But this week, we want to take a look at the NFC West and the NFC South. So since we've kind of already talked about Stafford, let's start with the NFC West. And we already talked about the Seahawks. They're in complete rebuild mode. They've got some bright spots they want to look at, but they're kind of out of that conversation. But do you start at the top with the Rams then? Like, are the Rams, do you think they're repeat contenders this year?
So, yes, the Rams are going to be in the conversation. I think, like, you look at this division and you think the 49ers are scary because you don't know what they have. And, you look 5, 6, 7 years back and you think the Kaepernick 49ers, and that defense was much better than the defense that they have right now. But that's the kind of offense that you're expecting. I think Trey Lance plays a little bit of a different style than Kaepernick, and he's willing to throw the ball down the field a little bit more. And I don't know if you know this, but the 49ers had like 2 passes completed over 20 yards last season. And that's the ball carrying over 20 yards, not the receiver taking it that way. But Trey Lance is going to bring that different dynamic to the whole situation. But to me, it comes down to either Arizona or the Rams are going to win this division. I would be shocked if Seattle wins 3 games. It's scary to think that this is a division last year that we would have probably called the best division in football. It's arguable, but you look at last year, you have Russell Wilson, you have Kyler Murray, you have Matt Stafford, and you have Garoppolo, and you think, wow, this is probably the best division in football. Now that's probably turned over to the AFC West at this point. But this was the one that you were looking at, and now Seattle's kind of bowed out. You don't really know what you have in San Francisco, but you're going to be looking at a couple of teams out there in the Rams and with a Stafford elbow that you don't trust, and a Kyler Murray that, as long as they're not offering double XP points, this guy's going to be dialed into the game plan. So, a lot of great football to be played in this division, but it's very, very uncertain.
Absolutely. You kind of mentioned the Arizona Cardinals. Last year, they started 7-0 and then kind of fell off 4-7 the rest of the way.
Call of Duty had a little run there where they were offering double XP, so Kyler Murray was not interested.
Yeah, he was definitely more focused on his getting his XP up and getting some of those wins in Battle Royal. than he was on trying to win games on the football field. But the big question for one of the big questions for the Cardinals coming into the season, DeAndre Hopkins is suspended by the NFL for 6 games. So you got to wonder how that is going to play in to the Arizona offense. Is that something that's really going to affect them early on? Are they going to take some bigger losses in the early part of the season, whereas maybe they wouldn't had they had Hopkins on the field with them? So that's, I think, going to be a key component looking at how the Cardinal season is going to track to start the year.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, like the first 6-7 weeks, they're going to have to really, really establish the run game, and whether that's through a play action or a pop read through Kyler Murray. But you know, you look at Hopkins, he's going to miss the first 6 games. You know, is Hollywood Brown going to get suspended with his Dewey there? Like, you know, he's obviously got himself in some trouble. One interesting comment that stood out to me, and I was actually talking to another guy that was he's a Cardinals fan, and you know, their GM came out and said that they ranked 7 receivers in the first round, but they didn't think they'd have a shot at any of them, and that's why they made the deal with Baltimore, and they give up their first round pick, they get Hollywood Brown, fine, but you know, if you're a Arizona Cardinals fan right now and you're looking around the league, like, you know, like all those, whatever, the top 4 or 5 guys went there, like they were quick, right? Like they were the top 17 picks. The Cardinals are picking at 23. You're telling me that Sky Moore or George Pickens that went to Pittsburgh and Kansas City respectively, you're telling me that either one of those guys isn't going to be better than Hollywood Brown? I have a problem with that. I think that's horrible management. And you paid this guy $25 million a year, or you're going to have to pay him $25 million a year because you didn't think that you're going to get Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson. I mean, man, that's lazy recruiting and lazy scouting. And I think that their team long-term is going to have to pay for something like that. But if they can get Hollywood Brown on the field and Hopkins and have Hollywood Brown be the number 2 that he is, I think that offense is going to be fine. But I just think it's wild to think that they gave up their first round pick for a guy like that and turned down, like I said, the Sky Moores of the world and the George Pickens of the world, and you know, like whoever else is going to be this next guy jumping up, because everybody could, you know, you and I watch a lot of Big Ten football. That pretty much means that we know who the top 5 receivers are getting drafted this year, right? Like that's just the way that the Big Ten has been and the way that it's going to be. But, you know, you look around and maybe Arizona isn't staying up long enough for the Big Ten. So maybe this USC and UCLA thing over to the Big Ten thing is going to be helpful for them.
Yeah. And then I think that'll be a big thing, is what can they get out of Hollywood Brown? You know, when he, in that first 6 games, we just had it on the screen. The first 6 games, they're home against the Chiefs, at the Raiders, home against the Rams, at Carolina, home against the Eagles, and then at Seattle. So even if you kind of take those at face value, you've got 2 to 3 losses. You're probably sitting at around 3-3. Maybe 4-2 at best, assuming they lose to the Chiefs and the Rams. So you kind of look at how are they going to start before they get DeAndre Hopkins and you saw how they looked at the end of the year when Hopkins was gone. They looked like a completely different team. So you're wondering, is Hollywood Brown really going to be that X factor that's going to help change the course of this offense until Hopkins gets back?
And it's so hard to tell, but yeah, yes, he is going to be a difference maker. And like, if you put 2 guys in front of me and said, do you want Christian Kirk or do you want Hollywood Brown? I think that Hollywood Brown would be the guy. Like, I would sign up for that 10 out of 10. And, you know, like, it's not like they have nobody else out there. You know, even with the Zach Ertz playing tight end, Isabella is running out there. They got some other guys out there, but when Hopkins comes back is when Brown is going to be most effective. And, you know, would it surprise me if Brown has like 15 catches for 170 yards and no touchdowns after 6 games? No, but then he finishes the season with 8 touchdowns. That makes sense. But the way Kingsbury's really going to have to be creative in order to keep these guys involved. But I think that if he can keep it creative enough, it wouldn't surprise me if they win 11 games and win the division.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a big storyline to obviously take a look at over the next over the course of this season. One of the last teams we haven't talked about in this division is the San Francisco 49ers, and they started out last year 3-5. They ended up 10-7 to make the playoffs, but they lost in the NFC title game to the division rival LA Rams 20-17. They did it on the back of their defense, which ranked in the top 10 in rushing defense, pass defense, and overall as far as statistical rankings. But it's that offensive side of the ball is what they need to look at. They had lost Raheem Mostert, went to Miami.
Yep.
They already decided that they're moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo, allowing him to go seek trades, and they're turning the keys over to Trey Lance, who really hasn't done much yet, played a couple games last year, but is Trey Lance, how do you think he's going to be able to fit in now in a very hotly contested division in his first full season at quarterback?
So I think he's going to be fine. What you're not going to get from him is those like sparkle plays. If you remember back to Patrick Mahomes' first couple games as a pro, I remember one because the second game of his season, he played the Steelers and he threw for 6 touchdowns at Heinz Field, and it was tough to watch. But Trey Lance isn't that guy. But what he is he's a guy that's going to challenge you a little bit downfield. So you're going to need the secondary. You're going to need to make sure that your linebackers can cover. I think that with that being said, that's why they're going to be fine in the division, because there isn't a defense that's going to keep them contained. If you look at Arizona, like with all due respect to a guy like J.J. Watt, who's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, there's about a 0% chance that he plays the whole year, right? So whether he tears his pec in the first week or the second week, that's the only thing that's really left to be settled about him. So if they have a guy that can run the ball, and it looks like they do, and look, Debo's signed, so you got to be happy about that. I would be looking for a little bit more from a guy like Brandon Ayuk and a guy like George Kittle, who was used in a lot of blocking scenarios. I don't think he's going to be in that situation anymore. I think that with the bootlegs, guys like Kittle and Ayuk are going to be a lot more versatile and a lot more open in these situations. So if you're a fantasy guy and you want to find a really late deep sleeper receiver, Ayuk is probably your guy. I mean, George Kittle is definitely not going to be a sleeper kind of pick, but do I think that the 49ers have more than 10 wins? No, but that kind of lines them up with where they were last year. So if they were the third place team in that West division and the 7th wild card, would that surprise me? No, and I get that that's not really a bold take on what the 49er season looks like, but they have the ability to be either the 2nd seed or the 7th seed. That's where they're at. Like, it's a high ceiling, short floor.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like you said, that's kind of what they ended up doing last year. They struggled early out the gate. They got to that 10-win mark. Based on they have a chance to kind of get off to a fast start. They play Chicago and Seattle in the first 2 weeks. So those two teams are expected to not be great teams this year. So Trey Lance could get on a roll. He's had a decent preseason. I think I just looked at, he had 4 for 5. He hasn't thrown an interception. He only ran it one time throughout one preseason game, but that's going to be the big thing. You already kind of mentioned that all those factors playing in, they could help make, it's a boom or bust scenario. And that's kind of what I look at. I look at them being the 3rd team in the NFC West as well. Kind of around that same win total, maybe no higher than 10 wins, and probably more so like the 7 to 8 win range would probably make sense to me.
Right, and look, I mean, they definitely got themselves into the dance last year, and they ruined a couple seasons. And Cowboys fans and Packers fans would probably talk a lot about the way that the 49ers played. And there's a lot to be said about overachieving teams. And like if you look at the overachieving team in the NFL last year, you're probably looking at the Bengals. And don't look at me like a bitter Steelers fan, but I'm saying, just because somebody was great last year and all the stars aligned, it's historically said that the team that loses in the Super Bowl is going to miss the playoffs 41% of the time the year after. Like that's another team to look at. But like that's the comparison I'm drawing with the 49ers is just because they were an NFC championship team last year. And you want to draw the comparison. Alex Smith took the Chiefs to the AFC championship, and then Mahomes steps in. Garoppolo takes the 49ers to the NFC championship, and then Lance stands in. They're not the same guy.
Yeah.
They're not playing the same football. They're not the same. No, just don't do it. Yeah, stop trying to draw the parallel to be a 49ers homer. Like I know a lot of 49ers fans because down here in Canada, if you were born in the 90s, you're probably a 49ers fan. That's the fortunate part about being down here. You can pick whatever team you want. I caution there. This guy's not Joe Montana. Just relax.
Absolutely not. We'll kind of, there's one last question I want to touch on, and then for time's sake, we're going to move on to college football to end out the show. But this is something that we were just kind of chatting about before the show. The news from Dana White came out that a Brady and Gronk to Las Vegas almost happened.
Yeah.
And I was shocked when I watched that, when I heard that.
So I saw that and I thought like back last year preseason, they were talking about who's that motherfucker, right? Like this is what they were talking about, right? Like this had nothing to do with Derek Carr. This had nothing to do with anybody else. This was no. Brady said you can have me or John Gruden, and I think that the Raiders organization, like I'm sure they regret it at this point, but they were like, you know what? We're gonna stick with our guy. We paid him $100 million. Like, that it's an interesting conversation. One that's probably more intelligent than you or I combined. But why an organization would turn down two guys that all they've ever done is win championship together, especially when you're about to move into a new market? I don't know, man. Like that, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It does seem like this was a Gruden turning them down kind of situation, and I get why Brady wouldn't want to play for a guy like Gruden. Doesn't fit what he does. Brady likes to have the conversation. Gruden's like he'll coach a Brad Johnson to a Super Bowl kind of guy. Like he's that kind of guy. He's not he does not deal with elite talent. It's wild to think though. Like you sit there as a Raiders fan and like you just feel sick to your stomach, and like I don't know.
My thought process is Gronk living in Vegas. Like He goes there a lot, and he said it on that segment. They called it the Gronk cast for the UFC fight card last night. And just to think about Gronk being in Vegas, and he's already
wild main event, right?
Yeah.
You watch that thing?
I actually was not able. I was working last night, so I did not get a chance to watch it. I saw the highlight.
So literally the worst 4 rounds and a half that you've ever seen in MMA history turned into a kick. Like this guy wore a shin on the eye. It was tough.
Yeah, I saw the kick, and everybody he folded immediately. Which it was lights out. But that's those fights are always, those highly anticipated fights are always fun to watch. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch it last night, but I heard a lot about it. So, um, but I think that'd be interesting to would think what would have been if Brady and Gronk were to be wearing the silver and black. Um, you kind of think of that where that team was. It probably would not have put them over the top the way that when they went to Tampa Bay, that did put them over the top. They already had a lot of pieces in place, so I don't think it would have been enough for the Raiders to. They would have made the playoffs, but I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have won a Super Bowl the way that he did when he went to Tampa Bay. And I think it ended up working out best for everyone, except for maybe Raiders fans, because you had the whole Gruden situation you talked about already. But but that's always something a big. The funny what ifs are always interesting to think about. But all right, so let's move on to kind of round out the show. We've only got a few minutes left, so I did want to talk a little bit of the Big Ten. You know, we're both Big Ten guys, and we'll be talking a lot about that come college football season, which is it's under 2 weeks away. And
we've passed the last Saturday with no college football.
Correct. We have this next Saturday has college football, and football fans rejoice. But the big news that came out over the last week, it's been developing over the last 2 weeks, is the Big Ten walked away from a contract negotiations with ESPN, which of course the Disney company owns ESPN and ABC, which there's been a long history between ESPN, ABC, and the Big Ten going back over 40 years. And then they ended up signing a contract with a bunch of different time slots. So the CBS, NBC, and Fox all got different time slots. And this story broke on Tuesday, August 9th from Sports Business Journal. And the deal they declined with ESPN was worth reportedly $380 million a year. But now they were looking for more than that just to keep the packages they had. Of course, ESPN's trying to get more, but what they ended up signing was Fox got a noon time slot, which they paid. They still have an extension of their contract. CBS is going to get the afternoon, the 3:30 time slot, and then NBC is going to get prime time spots. So CBS and NBC were paying $350 million each to the Big Ten for one time slot.
Yeah,
this is wild.
Yeah, and it's wild to think, like, you know, like you said, 40 years of being on ESPN and ABC comes to an end. This kind of leans into what we talked about like for our first episode, actually, like the inaugural episode, how the Rose Bowl's dead, and you know, look, like things are changing, and it's time to get on board. And look, this feels like if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said there is a 0% chance that Notre Dame is ever going to play in the Big Ten. Now that the power time slot is owned by NBC, who also owns the TV rights of Notre Dame, like, it's only inevitable now, right? Like, this is happening. I mean, 2 years from now, the big challenge that the Big Ten is going to have is how they decide to balance their divisions, or if they just try to roll as a conference with no divisions, or, you know, do they have 4 divisions if they go up to 20 and each 4 division has 5 and you start to cross over a little. Like, that's the tough decision now. Like, money doesn't matter because, well, they have a shit ton of money. Like, $7 billion over 7 years is probably going to keep a couple people in scholarship. The boosters are becoming a little bit more relevant. The way that the recruiting in the Big Ten is going to be so much more significant, because not only are you touching every time slot with a team, but you're also have every time slot covered with a major network, which is important. You know, if you look around and you think, why would the Big Ten want to get off ESPN? Well, to me, and probably to you, and definitely to me, because in Canada we don't have ESPN Plus. So, would I rather see an 8 p.m. or 8:30 game on NBC, or would I rather see it on ESPN2? And ESPN2 is not something that I have access to, unless it picks up on, like, we have to buy like a direct TV package the same way that you guys would for Sunday Ticket. You know, I would rather just put on my basic cable, and the rights. And what's wild, the rights for like same time TV, like real time TV, seems unreal right now, considering all the streaming platforms and everything that's out there. But everybody wants to watch their favorite sitcom when they feel like it. Nobody minds paying for TV that provides sports right away. Seems like sports and reality TV are the only two things that people are paying for.
Absolutely. And one thing I was trying to find the actual numbers, but I saw a statistic out there about why they decided to leave ESPN. Here's a kind of little thing, that food for thought to chew on. ESPN's already paying over $300 million just for the SEC.
Wow.
And that is something that they've been kind of using to pivot into get all those primetime games. They already have a primary deal with the ACC, and they're trying to do deals with like the group of 5 teams on ESPN Plus that you mentioned. But the Big Ten is top as a conference, is top in viewership for college football by double the next conference, which just so happens to be the SEC. So the Big Ten knows exactly what they're doing. They want to try to get as much money as possible, like every conference does. But the fact that they know they have the leverage to use this against ESPN, it just kind of makes sense for the Big Ten. But now I've been reading more reports about this whole situation, and don't count ESPN out. They're still looking towards when that contract ends. They'll probably try to slide back in, but the college football landscape could be much different by the time that comes back around. And that contract that the Big Ten signed recently with those 3 networks, that doesn't even include the extra teams that might come in. I believe it does include the USC and UCLA expansion, but it doesn't include other teams that might jump in. There's been talks about Oregon, Stanford, or Baylor from the Big 12, teams like that could join the Big Ten. And it's going to end up, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, it's going to end up being just 2 super conferences, maybe 3 if you throw in the ACC, and then everybody else. And then they'll do what they got to do and get away from the NCAA, and college football will never be the same.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, that's an interesting concept, and like that's the one that I've been bouncing around with the boys here all weekend. Is there was the leak that the college football playoffs is trying to leak away from the NCAA commission, but I don't understand how that's possible. Like, how could collegiate athletes that are performing go against their conference or they're against their league allegiance? It just doesn't. It feels like a nice story, but it doesn't feel like something that's logical.
Well, essentially, what would have to happen if they were to break away from school, they would have to find a way to make the college football program, in this case, a separate entity from the actual university itself, to where the universities could essentially make it a instead of something under their school budget to put under for the NCAA, they could essentially make it something private, like they pay for faculty or like they pay for a coach. It's a little bit separate, which is why when they're dealing with licensing, they deal with the college, and now they're starting to deal with the players and the coaches. They're all different, coming from different buckets. So it kind of makes sense. It'd be very, very messy. We both agree on that. It would be very long and drawn out process, but it's possible. It's just not probable yet. But when these conferences get to be 20 teams, like we're talking about, they'll have all the leverage in the world against the NCAA to be able to say, hey, you know what? These are now going to be private, like intramural, like private type institutions, and they can kind of do whatever they want.
Right, and look, I mean, the real winner in all this, like when we break through all the red tape and dust up all the floors, like we're the real winners, right? Like watching quality games every single week is going to be what's important, and as I mentioned, like quality games on every single network. We don't need to see Alcorn State play Alabama on CBS at 3:30 on a random Saturday in fucking October. Like we're done with that. Like that's all over. Sorry to the Alcorn States of the world who probably got $3 million for that game, but like that's done. And it's like, we're gonna be better fans because of it. The college football playoff is probably gonna go to 12 teams. Like that is gonna make sense. I'm very interested in the format that they feel like they're gonna pick. But like you look around the college football landscape, even just this year, the coaches that have embraced the transfer portal have transformed their programs. The ones that have like your boy Harbaugh does not like the transfer portal. So we'll see. Like, do I think that Michigan can win more than 9 games without the transfer portal? Probably. But will they ever beat Ohio State again? I don't know, man. Like, will they?
I think they will. That's a funny comment.
Oh, but my boy Kalen is all over Alcorn State over there, eh? Like that.
But and that kind of to kind of wrap that up, and we'll kind of talk about top 25 here to wrap up the show. You kind of mentioned it. You'll hopefully
the boys are in here with the fish fry. The boys are in here with a little bit of fish fry. Here we go.
Oh, there you go. A little bit of fish fries. We got the boys live on the show.
I'll give it a taste in a second.
Live from Ontario and Lake Erie. But the one thing that you're going to see a lot less of is the Alabama versus the Alcorn States, or the Alabamas versus the other FCS teams or low-level FBS teams, especially if they get to such a big portion of their schedule where they have to play all conference games. It's going to end up having a huge change of direction for college football. Mm-hmm. But all right, so I'll let you kind of finish eating your fish there, your walleye that you guys grilled up tonight, fried up tonight. The top 25 got released. The AP top 25, that is, was released this past week. And the top 5, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, and Notre Dame. Do you have any problems with that top 5?
So the problem that I have with the top 5 is Notre Dame. Like look, you didn't name your quarterback until last weekend. You're not a top 5 team. Right? Like, can I get behind DJ Alungale turning Clemson around? 100%. Do I believe Alabama and Georgia? No doubt about it. Ohio State, they're always in the conversation. But after I'm done talking about those 4 teams, am I willing to say that Notre Dame is 5? No. I think that they got some guys that are going to get drafted in the first round. No doubt about it. But when this thing breaks down, and look, I don't have their schedule in front of me to give it to you, but would it surprise me if they were 9-3 at the end of the year? Probably not. I mean, they still have to play USC. That's a USC team that probably hasn't been this good since like 05. Like we're looking at the Reggie Bush team and Matt Leinart team here. I don't know. And doesn't Notre Dame have don't they start the season against Ohio State?
They do. They start at Ohio State on September the 3rd. And you look at the rest of their schedule. I've got it pulled up here. They really don't play many good teams this year. They play some ACC teams. They've got at North Carolina. They play at Syracuse, home against Boston College. So not many ACC teams. Those are games that can be won. But the other teams, they only have 4 so far to start the season, 4 games against ranked teams. You mentioned Ohio State, October 8th at BYU. It's a very hard place to play even no matter kind of what level or how good they are that year. November 5th is home against Clemson. And then you mentioned at the end of the year, number 14, USC. They're on the road at USC to round out the year. But there is a potential that if Notre Dame, especially, you know why they ranked them number 5 to start the year, because their first game's against Ohio State. They want to be able to sell that the first weekend.
Oh, and there's no doubt about it. And I like I said, I get it. But if there's any college football fan out there that feels like Notre Dame is in the top 5, like there's no Notre Dame fans that feel like they're in the top 5. They're pissed off because they got overranked. And when you look at it, like you name the 3 losses they're going to have already. I mean, Ohio State's a loss, Clemson's a loss, and USC's a loss. I mean, to those guys, you want to look at trying to figure out, they don't play Michigan State this year, so I mean that's off their schedule. Do they play Michigan this year? I don't think so.
Nope.
So maybe 9-3 is realistic, but 9-3 when you lose to the only top 10 teams on your schedule isn't a top 5 team to me.
Yeah, and that the same arguments made even to Michigan in the past, where Michigan has been overranked to start the year, ranked too high. Notre Dame's definitely in that conversation this year. I had to feel like they did it just to make sure they could try to get a lot of views on that first weekend, a top 5 matchup. One team that I do want to kind of touch on a little bit, obviously, rounding out that top 10, you've got Texas A&M at 6, Utah 7, Michigan 8, Oklahoma 9, and Baylor at 10. Texas A&M is an interesting one to me at number 6. Is this kind of the year they're still in the same division as Alabama? That's not changed. Is this going to be a year that Texas A&M can finally, with Jimbo Fisher, finally push to make the playoff?
No. This is another, like exactly what you're saying. Like this is a scheduling ranking, and the scheduling, they want to see Texas A&M with a single digit beside their name while they're playing some of these teams. And again, I don't have their schedule in front of me, but I would assume that they're playing against the Alabamas and the Georgias of the world earlier than later in the season, probably in the Octobers. And they want them to have that single digit or just a digit beside them in general, because that looks better for TV. I don't know. They had the guy's name is escaping me. He was drafted by the Vikings. Anyway, he was their quarterback there for a while. He was drafted by the Vikings. They had him in there for a long time. Wasn't their guy. CJ Spiller's out of the business. They're bringing in high-level recruits. They have a lot of money that they're recruiting with. But Texas A&M, to me, is not a real player until something actually happens to prove otherwise. Yeah, Kellen Mond. Yeah, Rafi just told me Kellen Mond is the guy that I was thinking of. And look, Johnny Manziel isn't kicking down the door, which means that the Alabama game's safe. I don't know. To me, like the 2 most concerning of the back end of the top 5 would be Texas A&M and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's lost too much, and there's too much scandal going on there. I think even their fan base is turned against them. The Texas A&Ms of the world, it's almost an injustice to us to make them the 6th team, because now we're setting them up for failure.
Yeah, so Texas A&M to open up the year, they have 2 gimme games at home against Sam Houston State and Appalachian State. And then game 3 is home against number 16 Miami, Florida Miami. Okay. That's, depending on how you look at Miami's progression with Marco Cristobal, it depends on kind of how they're going to look at. But I think Miami is one of those other teams. They're also, the hype from 20, 30 years ago is still kind of hanging around for them. But you have that game. Their first 4 games are at home, and the 4th game is home against Arkansas, who's a team that a lot of people are high on to start the year. And then you mentioned Alabama is in early October. So you get that game out of the way in the first 5 games. And then to kind of round out the year, they only play 1 ranked team down the stretch to start the season, and that's Ole Miss at the end of October. in November, you've got Florida, Auburn, UMass, and then LSU. So depends on what's games kind of you're looking at or where those programs end up sitting. But I think Texas A&M, with all that money, they have one of the biggest amount of budget, I should say. They have one of the biggest budgets in college football. So to put all that money into Jimbo Fisher, into the NIL, to try to get a lot of these recruits there, I think this is going to be a big year for Jimbo Fisher if they, as far as what his legacy is going to be at Texas A&M. But I'm with you. I think they're a little bit too high to start the year. But that third game at home against Miami is going to be a big one, because not only is it ranked, but it's going to be a barometer for both teams. Is Texas A&M the real deal? Is Miami actually taking that next step forward to get back to relevance? And I think that's going to be a big one.
And the Miami thing to me stands out as maybe this is that game that makes Miami have another rivalry in the SEC, and maybe a Texas A&M Miami rivalry sparks up, and that's the reason that the Hurricanes become like an SEC conference team.
Absolutely. And then just to kind of round out the top 25, you've got a few teams that kind of make some appearances from the group of 5 conferences, if you will. You see Cincinnati's at 23, Houston's at 24, and BYU at 25 to round it out. But college football starts in a week. You mentioned it. The last Saturday was the last Saturday without college football. So all season long, All Sports All Plays Network is going to be your go-to for college football news, analysis, hot takes, and more. So make sure go check them out. All Sports All Plays on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and you can see all that at the bottom of your screen. We're here every Sunday night, 7:15 on the East Coast at All Sports All Plays. And Shane, any final words for the week before we sign off?
Look, I would say now is the time to take the old lady out for a date, get her out,
You heard him. Take the old lady out for the date. All right. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up on that. We did so well through this show, doing what we could from 2 different locations. But thank you for tuning in this week for the All Sports All Plays weekly wrap up. For Shane, I am Craig. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday.
Excellent technical wrestlers. Guys you would have never guessed could get on the mat, and chain wrestle.
They kind of remind me of Dick Murdoch and Dick the Bruiser.
Yeah.
Oh. Sort of. Yeah. They're like another of them, like right there.
Yeah, I can totally see it.
It's like another of them, but hey, I give it to them, man. They just
looks kind of like Alex Knight.
Hey, they deserve applause right there. They deserve it.
Golf clap.
They're good dudes. Yeah, they're good dudes, man. I mean, I had the privilege to be on quite a few shows with them, and man, you just look at their faces, man. God, man, just scar tissue everywhere, man. These guys were weathered, man. I mean, from all the brutal bloodbaths they went through, but just cool dudes overall. And got to talk with them, and shit, man, I learned a lot just talking to them for like 15, 20 minutes in the back. Good dudes, though. Good dudes. And wouldn't say they're in the top 10, but they're pretty damn close. But I think they're sheep herders. I think it gets lost in translation. A lot of people don't really know them as sheep herders, so I think that's why they're, I say 11 or 12 maybe. I don't know.
But that's what got them into the Bushwhackers, thus into the Hall of Fame, was the level of popularity they had as the sheep herders. Everybody took a big gamble when they came back as this lovable, Bushwhackers gimmick. They all took a big gamble. Vince risked a lot of money, and they risked their future because if it didn't work, what are you going to go back and try to be the sheep herders again? We just saw you on TV licking some old woman's head.
That's true.
So
and the
yeah,
armpits.
They should have, but they didn't have the straps. They didn't even put any belts on them. I don't know, but
because they weren't ever serious team. They were the feel good. They were the feel good match, the comedy match, the break in the tension. They were the popcorn match, really.
yeah. I think that may have hurt them to be in the top 10. But totally your.
What say you, Executioner? Huh?
I would say that. I mean, they are a popcorn match because I remember seeing them going to their matches, and you know they would have the crowd's interest during while they were getting their popcorns.
That's
I mean,
right.
True.
They went in for that second half. You know, so I got to give it to them with that second half of the wrestling on the card. They really brought the life of the fans, bringing their fucking attention. We got to sit here and watch the rest of it because there's something bigger coming that next match.
Yeah,
That's right.
Watch.
they got the crowd warmed up, man. I will.
But they liked how the Bushwhackers would go out there and just really get into the crowd with them and
They
play
made it
with
so
the kids
believable.
and hey, oh, that was it. It worked out to be over. The merchandise sales took off, and they were now the kindergarten match. They're the no real blood, no real pain, no title matches. Just go have a match. You guys do the headbutt gimmick, and then you go home.
I wish I could have worked them, man. I mean, I was on quite a few shows, but I would love to tag team with someone. You and I, Rob, worked them, man. We could have a fucking great match with those guys.
Well, you know, I'm trying to get him to come. I'm trying to get Luke to come on the show, but he's like, "Hey, sorry, kid, you're going to have at least 5,000 people a week listening. So help us out, people. Help!" Oh shit, Doug Damien. I'm gonna allow that comment as a voter's choice addition to the 10 greatest tag teams, and that was Maniac and Psycho out of Sacramento, California, the Reapers, the Supernatural Wrestling Federation tag team champions. They were a phenom.
Wow, got with Con here.
Yeah.
And they don't look like they're going to play. Oh, we're talking about the sheep herders. Yeah, they weren't polished or flashy at all. There was nothing. There was no sit down for dinner with these guys kind of vibe with them.
Right.
Just but back before they were the Bushwhackers, man, when they were the sheep herders, just every time you saw them coming, your arm hairs would raise because you knew, like, here comes some fucking violence, dude.
They were hardcore before hardcore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that got me flowing off to naming my number 2 pick along that same vein as the Bushwhackers. Guys that the Bushwhackers would have 5-star matches with from Bad Street, Atlanta, GA.
There we go.
The Fabulous Freebirds.
I knew it.
That's right, Michael Hazen. Bam, bam. Bam, bam. I love these guys. I don't
the
like
original Bam Bam.
That's right. The founders, man. The original
Yes.
Fabulous Freebirds. And you guys know him now as, what is it, Doc Hayes? Is that his gimmick now on TV?
PSA.
Doc Hayes or Doc Hendricks?
Doc Hendricks. Yeah, Doc Hendricks. That's his gimmick now. And I remember Triple H going out to do an interview with Doc Hendricks, and he said something just stupid to Triple H, some horrible question, something that you can't, like something like, "Oh, Chris Casanovas, you're gonna go out and wrestle X tomorrow night. What are you gonna do to him?" And Hunter just stared at him in a whole stadium full of people, and he said, "That's got to be the dumbest question I've ever been asked in a professional interview, but I'm going to let that slide, seeing as you're a bird." And the whole crowd popped. I was like, yes, they remember the birds, man.
Yeah.
Remember them because they were innovative. They started insisting on music and more flash and balls in their gimmicks. People were going out there in just their tights. They were wearing Confederate flags as capes.
Yeah. He was in Highlander, man. He was in the beginning of Highlander.
Yeah.
Right? And look at the flashing balls on Hayes, dude. That's just his coat. Can you imagine what he looks like from the coat down? All this
Yeah.
Oh my
crazy
God.
shine and sparkle he's got going on. Now, let's be honest. Michael P.S. Pretty Sexy Hayes isn't necessarily the finest technical wrestler in the world. But him and Bam Bam together were one of the finest tag teams in whatever territory they were working in at the time.
Yeah, they were.
Yep.
Their feuds
Oh.
with the Von Erichs were great.
Yes.
Chris, you think it's that time, huh? For my bonus? Rob, you got
Wait a minute. Wait a
real quick?
minute. I got one more.
Oh, you got a cigarette anyway? I need one.
Oh yeah, I got you,
Hey,
brother.
X, we could after Rob goes on his last one, we can bring that bonus one up.
Oh, we're having a bonus team.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
an honorable
Here you go,
I
mention.
got one bonus.
It's more of an honorable
you.
mention.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I don't know what the big
I'm
kayfabe
sorry. Back
secret
to
is.
the back. You got the flow, Mr. Rob. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No.
I got excited.
I could see that. I don't think I feel comfortable with that.
Hey, X, we'll just take a headlock and rest for a while. Let Rob finish it out, and then
Yeah, I'll
then
take
we'll
that.
go into our
Go ahead.
finishing. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
A bro crush. This is so far beyond a bro crush. This is dude love. It's guy love
Ow,
between
dude,
three
love.
guys.
Lord have mercy.
All right,
I love that
Connie.
song, man.
Connie, shop. Moving on. I love saying that. Connie, shop. Moving
You always
on.
told her that. You always told her that.
My pick. Now, listen, before we do your bonus, we're going to give my last pick. Then we're going to do the fan choice thing we put out there. They're going to name who their favorite tag team is. Then we'll do your bonus. So my last pick, in my opinion, was just this pairing of two guys by accident that smoothed along like a crazy train. Man, Jim Neidhart and Bret Hart were one of the finest examples of what a tag team in professional wrestling is to the core.
Yep.
The way they complimented each other during their promos. Thus, they both worked strong style, but even the big man, Jim Neidhart, could get on the ground and wrestle you.
Yeah, absolutely good.
I was told once by somebody I'm not going to mention because we might get a tirade from old producer Dave, but somebody very important once said, there's a few factors to making a great professional wrestler. There is, how do they look? Oh, look at these guys. Okay. Can they talk? Oh, they can talk. Do they grab your attention as soon as you walk in the room? And then finally, can they wrestle? And these guys had every single. Harlem Heat was a great tag team, but when it came to promos, as Stevie was talking, it wasn't really going to be that great. Book was the promo guy. With the Hart Foundation, they could both talk. With the Steiners, Scott was kind of the promo guy. You know, he just Legion of Doom. We know that Hawk was better than Animal on the stick. But with these guys, they could just flow right along.
Jim was probably a little bit better, though.
Who?
Jim was probably a little bit better on the stick
than Bret. Yeah, Bret didn't exactly grab. He wasn't the exciting factor. He was when he double legs you, you know you're going to see some wrestling.
Yeah.
And people liked that. Big Jimmy got out after having the big thing with the Power Man. Their power guy tags in, circles with Jim, then he stops and tags Bret, and that was the pop of the night.
Yeah.
Because when Bret got in the ring, some shit was going to get impressive. Bret Hart was given all three of the titles they had to give, for a reason.
Sure.
And Bret's kind of a dick. Like, we'll admit it. Bret's not the nicest person in the world. He's a good businessman, great wrestler, mediocre talker. But if you ask him, he's the best there is, the best there was. Say it with me. The best there ever will be.
Will be.
That's right. So that is my third pick of the Wrestle Shoot 10 greatest tag teams of all time. I put out a quiet survey for the fans to get some kind of a consensus of the greatest tag team in their opinion. And you guys might be surprised to learn who it is. Are you ready?
I am.
It's the goddamn apocalypse, baby. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
Oh,
Man,
is
fuck
this,
Paul Roma, dude.
You motherfucker, man.
He just
This
totally
producer, man.
destroyed it.
Hey,
Man,
this producer deserves.
why would he
us
put up a picture of
apocalypse.
Paul Roma as we were being announced as the greatest tag team of WrestleShoot?
Oh,
Oh, and it's
Oh
up
my
again.
God.
Take that the fuck out
oh,
of here.
it just
man.
totally took our
He
our
just ruined my
away.
fucking surprise, man.
man. Our thunder's gone.
You know what, Dave? You're
What?
fired.
You're fired.
Well, X, you might as well just fucking.
Oh, you think
know
you're
what?
fucking funny? Is that your little bonus team?
Yes,
Power
that
and
was
glory?
my bonus. That was my bonus.
Try what?
What the hell is this shit?
doing?
Where do the Dudleys come in at?
All right.
What the fuck is going on here?
Okay.
Anyway, so I
fan
guess that's
favorite,
enough.
fan favorite. They said the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, you know, so had to give them some.
Dave, you're fucking up.
Yeah,
bro.
right in the middle of our shtick. Way to
Yeah.
kill way to kill a bit, buddy. Way to kill a bit.
All right.
That's his new gimmick, Dave the Bit Killer.
Hey X, we got to take another side hill lock. Let's fucking take a rest hold for a bit. We gotta
Yeah.
fucking try to come back. I don't know if there's coming back from this, man. Might as well just take it home.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. But that was my bonus surprise tag team of all time.
Oh my
Power
God, it's
and
Paul
glory.
Roma. Oh, you asshole. Yeah. This was
Well-
gonna be a great bit.
Let me spice this up. How about any team that Paul Roma was on? How about that?
Man,
The
fuck
young-
Paul
the
Roma.
young
Dude, fuck Paul
Stallions.
Roma. Quit talking about fucking Paul
The
Roma.
Horseman.
You're trying to get me
Oh, the
heated up.
Horseman.
Stop trying to get me heated up.
He was a horseman, Rob. So you actually
He's
said-
the forgotten horseman. Get that picture the fuck off the screen.
You
He's
agree
a
that-
forgotten horseman.
No,
Man,
you
dude,
agree
man,
that
fuck
the
you,
horseman
dude,
was
fuck
number
you.
one.
Dude, fuck you. Fuck you, and fuck you, Paul Roma. Paul Roma, dude, I swear for God. If Jimmy Snuka was still here to tell you what the fuck I'm going to do to you, ask the Tonga kid. Ask any of the legends. Ask the Hockey Tonk man. Ask around, Jack. I'm the fucking legend killer. Dude, I'm going to...
Original legend killer.
Original
not
legend
this,
killer.
not this Jim Brody RKO.
Way before him, we were
You
out there
got
as
the
the
original
legend killers.
legend killer.
I was the
saying that over 20
Superfly
years.
Swatter. You understand?
Yeah.
You understand, Roma? They called me the Superfly Swatter. They called me the ruiner of Samoa. Son of a bitch. Man, fuck you, X. And fuck you, Paul Roma. I'm telling you, Chris, we're gonna get an event going, dude. I'm gonna get my opportunity with Roma. And I don't want to do it on the podcast to be like, screw you, screw you. I don't want to do that. I mean, we'll still do that, of course. We'll get old Pretty Paulie to come up on the show if he's got the balls. But I want to see if he's got the balls to square up with me.
Yeah.
I don't think you do, Paul. I think you're going to run like a little bitch. Because you ain't got Hercules here to back you up no more. No more Herc and Jerk. Now it's just Jerk. And the Jerk store called, and they said they're all out of you. Nothing.
Oh, nothing.
Hey, Dave, show Face's comment. Face said he had a comment on there. Show his comment. Let's see what Leatherface had.
Fucking Paul Roma.
Don't see one. Don't
Guy's
see
a
one from
dick.
Face.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
there's
He
nothing
said
for
he
Face
put a
at all.
comment on there. I don't know.
Nope.
Yeah, well,
Don't
he
see one.
didn't.
Oh well.
It's probably. Yeah.
But hey, come
Remember
on, guys. Let's be realistic, okay? Out of modern tag teams, we got the old school dudes that did fucking killed, right? But then you got the kings, in my opinion, of the TLC, the Dudley Boys, right? Come on, you got to give it up for the Dudley Boys, right?
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
leave them out of the mix, right? And
I
then the
would
best
call-
high
I would
flying
call-
duo in all of wrestling. These are the best high flyers there was. You know
I
what
would
I'm saying?
call Edge Christian the king of the TLC.
Well, yeah.
Just because
I mean, that too.
the Dudleys did more of them, Edge Christian won all of them.
Oh, yeah. Yep. But, I mean, you also got to give it up for the Hardy Boys. They also did a lot of good TLC matches, and they were some high-flying risk takers, along with Lita when she was with the Dudley Boys. That was a good team as well.
whore. She's a whore.
But she was an excellent wrestler.
An excellent whore.
Who's doing that voice? Like,
Where's that coming from?
But
I don't know.
the reason why I put these up here is because me and the other Dave have something. You got to give it up for Dudley and the friggin' Hardy brothers, man.
No
Even
doubt,
though
man.
Oh
they've
yeah,
had
Hardy
issues.
Boys, dummy.
They're still brothers.
The Hardy Boys.
I know, Hardy boys. Jeff and Matt.
They were okay. They were the evolution of they were the innovators of the whole X division kind of career-ending sloppy fucking wrestling that I don't get behind. I don't place the
I know,
Hardy
they're
Boys
more-
in the top 10 of anything.
So, like the Hardy Boys to me were more of a what we used to call back in the day backyard wrestling style.
They were
Literally.
they're
They
what
were-
the pros called suicide style.
Yeah. I mean, but you got to also, Dudley's did a pretty good job too. You got to give it up for them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Christ,
know,
me and Chris stole the 3D from them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are my two picks. Now, you already mentioned some of the other greatest that I really appreciated.
Yeah, like Roman, Hercules. Freaking dickhead.
I say the Horseman. He was a horseman. And you agreed to it?
Dude, he was he was that little wart on the shaft of the horseman's cock that they got.
he was a
frozen
has-been.
off. He wasn't a has-been. He just was a horseman that nobody gave a shit about. So, we better get rid of Roma. Fucking horseman.
Hey,
Dude,
didn't
that
they
was the
replace-
greatest 12 minutes of your life, you old prick.
And guess who took over his spot was fucking Lex Luger.
I know. And if Luger's taking your spot, what does that say about you? Luger sucks on ice. Sorry, that's not popular. Fuck Lexi. I'm sorry for his health problems. He's actually kind of a nice guy.
Yeah.
But dude, he stunk on ice. I
Then
thought
when
he
he
was
left,
terrible.
they brought in what? Sid?
Yeah, all kinds of people. It's Sid, Mongo,
Because
Benoit.
Yeah,
Windham was there.
Mongo was after Sid.
Yep.
Okay.
They were so many rotations. It was a lot, but I
Now,
think the core people were Flair, Arn, and Tully. Those were the three core guys.
Yeah, they were the dudes since Barry got injured and had to kind of start pulling back from that. I mean, if Barry would have stayed, he would have been way bigger than he fucking was.
All right. Now, one last thing for the fans, okay, that somebody mentioned, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it up here. In my opinion, one of the greatest tag teams. Here we go.
They look, Robin came up.
They were a
bro.
mishmash
The
tag
Mega
team, but you
Powers.
got to give it up for Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. Come on, guys.
Okay,
Can't
let
leave
me
these two legends out themselves.
get that fucking picture out of here and let me ask you this. Why?
Why?
Why
not?
why not? Come on, give me a fucking break. Why are the Mega Powers, who had 2 goddamn matches, considered one of the greatest tag teams ever?
They had more than 2 matches.
No, they didn't. They wrestled
they did.
Akeem and Boss Man, and then DiBiase and Andre.
They
That
did
was
a
it.
shitload of dark matches too, man, that weren't televised.
That's your fucking excuse as to why they need to be an honorable mention. Fuck that, dude.
Oh,
Fuck
I
it.
mentioned
The
them as an
Mega-
honorable mention.
The
Come on,
Mega
man.
Powers, the Mega Powers were one marketing gimmick for
you know what I could've
half
also-
of a year.
I could have threw up Undertaker and Kane.
At least they were working out there against teams as a team,
Yeah, they
working
did.
tag team. Hogan, Macho Man was the heavyweight champion, and Hogan was his partner, and
But you also
somehow
understand
they
that
were a
also
tag
wrestled
team.
together in WCW as a team.
You're not
when they
talking
were
about
in
that. You're
NWO.
talking about the Mega Powers.
I know
Yeah.
that too.
For
To only
fuck's
build
sake.
WrestleMania
each
5
their own,
for
I
2
mean-
matches. 2 matches to build WrestleMania 5.
Who's getting a call?
Not me.
That's me.
Bring them on. Tell them they're interrupting a show, so they're on the air.
Yeah, bring him on the air.
Come on, do it. Put it on speaker. Do it.
I don't even know. Hang on.
Hey,
answer.
send,
Yo, you're live
Send-
on the air. What's up, man? You
Hey,
there?
welcome
What
to
the
Wrestle
hell?
Shoot.
Hold on.
Speak up.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Hold on. All right, you there? You're on air. What's up?
Bueller.
Hello.
You there?
Bueller.
You're the worst call-in guest ever.
Hello, you're live.
Send
Call him
Face
back.
the invite. He's got
Hang up and call him back.
Oh yeah, okay, hang on. Send him the invite code.
Yeah,
What?
send Face the invite.
Got it.
He wants to get on.
You send it to him. You
Yeah.
have it. You send it to him.
I already got it.
Ah, tell me what to do. I'm the goddamn host of this show.
I was telling the producer.
Yo, X, slide me a smoke back over this way, man.
Give him.
Here, let me have it. Thank you. Chris, shut your mouth.
Those damn cancer sticks.
Shut your fucking mouth. Nobody asked your opinion on shit. Now, is he coming on? Are we hanging out for anything important? Or is he just going to come on and fart and then leave? Like, what's happening here?
And none of this creepy
don't know.
fucking blah blah blah, like a dark fucking none of this dark video and him say like 2 words you can't understand.
All you hear is the fucking North Carolina crickets. And he's going.
Where the fuck's he commenting at? He's saying he's been commenting through the whole show. I'm not seeing shit.
Yeah,
Send him the
I
link
sent
or
him the
what?
invite, so he should be coming in a few minutes.
Yay! Yay! What a way to end the show. X, you dickhead. You and your Paul Roma bullshit. And Chris, you were in on it, you asshole.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Man, dude, I'm going to fucking send Virgil to pay you.
It would have been a lot cooler if our thunder wasn't stolen from us.
I don't even know why I tried to bring it back up again and try and squeeze a little bit of juice out of it. It's a dead fucking stone. Just I'm going to let it go.
It was, man. It should have been a lot better than it was. Not our fault though. We can't carry everybody.
Sure we can. We always do. The hell happened?
I don't know. Oh,
All right, so yeah, all right, well, I don't know if he's coming or
I
what.
don't know if he's
but,
going to get on or not. I don't know.
I'm not yet. We're not going to just like hang out here and wait around. Face, bring it or don't bring it, but let us know for Christ's sakes. So let's just recap a couple of things that happened this evening. Fucking goddamn, that would have been such a great ending bit, man.
It would've.
God damn it.
it would have, man. Well, I got Connie saying some comments here. Looks like her teams are the Heart Foundation, which is Rob's pick. Edge and Christian. Yeah, I could see them pretty close in the top 10. And of course the Road Warriors. And then she says honorable mention the Dudley Boys. And she said the Rock and Sock Connection. Now, the Rock and Sock Connection.
They were the tag team champions, man.
They were funny. They were the kind of like they were the funny tag team, man. It was a great little pairing of Rock and Sock, man. I loved it.
And
Very
they
entertaining.
they could be put into that list quicker than the fucking Mega Powers because they wrestled. They were the champions, dude. They were the tag team champions. That makes you a tag team. The Mega Powers doing 2 abortions. They weren't abortions, actually. I'll take that back. They were 2 good matches. The Twin Towers was fun, and the DiBiase and Andre was a pretty high impact show.
The Jesse, the 3 count one.
Yeah. Jesse Boo.
3.
But then that was it. Then the Mega Powers were all done. They got their main event merchandise, fucking pay-per-view buy shit out the way. And now Randy's gonna go heel and just give the belt back to Hulk.
Yeah, that's all I was. Like we need to get back. We need to get the belt back to Hulk, dude. We gotta get back on him somehow. And that was a perfect angle.
It was a good feeder, but to put them in any kind of a greatest tag team category, I would say that takes a particular brand of. That's right, Damien. I just called you a dummy, and
What
you,
about-
Dave.
What about Tanaka and Fuji?
Yeah.
They were a good tag team wrestling.
That was a tag team that would cheat like a mother,
Oh yeah.
throwing assault.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything epic or memorable that they ever did. Every other team on that list, I could pick something epic and memorable that helped shape the history of the business. But they were just a heel tag team back in the black and white. Fucking everything was a dark match
It was
days.
before our time. And you can see the Briscoes too. We don't really know anything about them. I mean, but they were supposedly legit back then. I mean,
Remember when Tony Gurria and Rick Martel was a tag team and fucking Mr. Fuji threw salt in fucking Rick Martel's eyes?
That's a damn shame that Santana and Martel actually didn't make the list. Can we give Strike Force just a quick hi, how are you on that? that list because they were great.
They should have been around a lot
Strike,
longer.
Yeah. They were great. I really liked Strike Force. I mean, they were the epitome of fucking white meat, Ovaltine drinking, apple pie. God bless America, and I love my mother, baby faces.
And you love the Girls in Cars video. I know you did.
No, I like pile. Feels just like a pile driver. Sometimes an argument. Did you say argument?
One last team from me, and this will be the end of it. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Dusty and Dick. Yeah. Look at Sheiky, dude. Sheiky's watching Dusty. He's like, "You old motherfucker jabroni, you fucking hit me with that back kitty, you fucking jabroni."
I had to throw that in
I
there.
fuck your
because of
ass, make you humble.
Do you guys remember watching that match, man? I did. That was a brutal fucking match.
No, I can't say that I do, to be honest.
Shit.
Oh.
I might have to Google, YouTube that.
Yeah, I'd watch
Yeah,
that.
the cowbell match. Whew.
All right,
Yeah.
so I guess Leatherflake doesn't want to come, so we're going to go ahead and bid him a fond good evening. Let's give him a California. Let's give him a California howdy.
Yeah, just a dad. There you go. The Mega Powers explode on WrestleMania 5.
They did.
That's not true. The fuck. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, here's another one. No
Whatever
one
you
mentioned
want.
Nikolai Volkov and
Leo.
Iron Sheik. I'll admit to that one. Yeah,
Go on, Connie.
Nikolai and Iron Sheik. Yep,
Yeah,
I'll give it that one for sure.
WrestleMania 1.
What an
Tag
what
team
an
champion.
unusual pairing they were too. I mean, that just shows the ignorance of the country back then. Yep, they're both foreigners, so they must be bad guys. Yep, they belong together. Two completely separate nations, but yep, they're the bad guys because they're not Americans. Let's go watch some wrestling here in America.
Was it a time where fucking Russia and Iran, they're fucking enemies, man. Let's just throw them together.
Yeah, good shit. All right, well, I feel like we're fizzling the fuck out here, so I think it's time to just take it home.
No,
We don't even have a subject, but I swear I am going to reach out to Bill Alfonso sometime this week and try and get something hammered out with him to get him up on here on Wrestle Shoot. I think he's going to be fucking awesome to have on.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure, brother. So on that note, here's to you and here's to me, and should we never disagree, but if we do, then fuck you and here's to the Baron.
That was good.
That was Baron Von Raschke's toast. But if we do, fuck you, here's to Baron. Cracked me up every time. All right, so I'm running out of shit to say. Take it home. Goodbye. See ya. See you next week. Bye.
Praise
See ya.
fire.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye. Oh yeah, look
Out.
at that. There we go. Okay.
We're
Goodbye.
still here.
Okay. Cut.
Cut it out.